You'd absolutely hate to be a Spurs fan right now. Meanwhile, Red Card FC are so back, it appears no one wants to win La Liga apparently, and in shameful circumstances, racism in football persists, this time in the Premier League. This is DMAC Daily. The duality of Spurs is legit unmatched. Current European champions at genuine risk of relegation. A club that periodically cooks title contenders Man City, only to get periodically cooked by title contenders Arsenal. I've said this many times, but despite moving into a state-of-the-art stadium, they are spiritually three-point lane, aren't they? And we really need to eliminate this lot from the Big Six frame, because at this point, they're barely cracking the Big 16. Sure, Igor Tudor may have won his opening fixture at his previous 5 clubs, but this is Spurs we're talking about here. So it's hardly a shock to see Tudor take an L and Spurs crumble in their biggest league fixture. Now, before the Spurs fan base completely crash out at me, I am in full agreement that they were robbed of an equalizer. Gabriel, one of the most physically dominant players in the Premier League apparently, going down so theatrically from the slightest bit of contact is worthy of slander. If that's a foul, then every corner in Premier League history is also a foul. What are we doing here? But enough Spurs apologia, because don't get it twisted, Arsenal still comprehensively outclassed them. Gyökeres looking like prime Haaland against this lot, shamelessly stat padding against the relegation battlers. Eberechi Eze with another disrespectful performance. I mean, it's painful enough that he rejected them at the last minute for Arsenal, but to then bang in a hat-trick in his first North London derby and follow it up with a brace on Spurs' own turf. Top 10 disrespect moments right there. No doubt the Arsenal fans are relieved though, because following that Wolves debacle and City then picking up 3 points, the PTSD was kicking in. The stage was set for an almighty bottle, but instead they've gone 5 points clear. Meanwhile, the relegation battle is well and truly on at Spurs. I'm sorry, scrap the UCL gimmick right now. Tudor, you have 10 games to avoid the biggest humiliation in Premier League history. When asked in the pre-match presser about Spurs' chances of remaining in the top flight, he said 100%. 48 hours later though, I wonder if he maintains that belief. Moving from one banter club to another, and Red Card FC have returned. Now, I banter Arsenal with the bottle job label frequently, but to be honest, they got nothing on this crop of players. The only thing remotely consistent about Chelsea nowadays is their ability to rack up stupid red cards and simultaneously drop points from winning positions at home. 17 points this season to be precise. To be honest, I knew these guys were losing when I saw them goofing around in Dubai midweek. A lot of Chelsea fans have been quick to critique Rafinha for their latest humiliation, but this isn't exactly a new problem emerging under his leadership. Sure, a bit of a head scratcher from the LinkedIn boss, taking off your captain when trying to desperately hold on to a slender lead whilst down a man. Like, what other team does that? But the responsibility still has to lie on the players for their consistent failures, for not taking their chances, for their lack of discipline, and for so often switching off. At least Chelsea got a fronted jersey sponsor, right? Moving to a club that was far more fortunate this weekend, and Liverpool somehow won away at Forest. I know they also had a disallowed goal late on from McAllister, but his eventual match winner after was still against the run of play. Carragher said it best, that's one of the biggest robberies I've seen in the Premier League this season. But 3 points is 3 points, and on top of that, Rio Engamoa's latest cameo was outstanding, objectively far more influential than both Salah and Gakpo. I get Slot wants to manage the youngsters' minutes, but at what point does he warrant a start? Elsewhere in the Prem, and Nico O'Reilly's brace comes in clutch for City. Low-key flying under the radar, this guy played the majority of his senior football at left back, but shifted into his more natural central midfield role recently. The 20-year-old has delivered 3 goals in 2 Premier League matches, whilst adding that much-needed physicality into City's midfield. Meanwhile, Villa managed to scrape a draw against Leeds thanks to Tammy Abraham's late equaliser. Separate note, what a goal from Leeds midfielder Anton Stark. Brighton secured a much-needed win away at high flyers Brentford. Fulham climbed ahead of Sunderland and into the top 10 with a bang, winning at the Stadium of Light. Palace inflict further misery on Wolves, whilst West Ham remain in the relegation zone despite picking up a point at home to Bournemouth. One of the most entertaining 0-0 draws you're likely to see. Chances aplenty, 28 shots in total, but neither able to break the deadlock. Heading over to La Liga, and last week it was Barca who slipped up away from home. A couple days later, and Real Madrid have now followed suit. Their 4-match winning streak ended in a deserved 2-1 defeat away at Osasuna. Arbeloa's 4-4-2 midfield diamond appeared to have been gelling in recent weeks, yet the Pamplona club caused them all sorts of problems. Their first victory over Madrid at home in 15 years, a stunning match winner from Raul Garcia too, although there were serious questions to be asked defensively from Madrid. Asensio getting absolutely rinsed, whilst Trent was far too slow to react. I know he's never been a defensively brilliant fullback, but those mishaps will only be amplified at a club like Madrid. I thought it was interesting that Arbeloa lamented the overusage of the left flank. Quote, "We're playing a lot down the left, but we do have to do it on the other side too. Otherwise, we're too easy to defend." How often have we heard about that very issue? Mbappe and Vini occupying the same spaces. An incredibly frustrating weekend for Los Blancos, as the Blaugrana then took full advantage in a comfortable 3-0 victory over Levante. A lot of positives to take for Barca. They go back into top spot. Bernal in another rare start scores at home. Fellow La Masia graduate Fermin with a banger off the bench with his weaker foot. More excitingly, Pedri has also returned, arguably Barca's most integral outfield player. So a comfortable result, albeit against a struggling Levante. Briefly moving to Germany, and as expected, Dortmund have conceded further ground in the title race. Granted, they did salvage a 95th minute equalizer away at Leipzig, meaning they've still only lost one league game all season, yet they do now find themselves 8 points behind Bayern Munich, led by their ruthless talisman Harry Kane. He'd score a further 2 against Frankfurt in a 3-2 win at the Allianz. That's his 28th league goal in 23 games now. He only needs 14 more to break Lewandowski's Bundesliga record. That's definitely achievable in 11 games. Moving to Ligue 1, and normalcy has been restored this weekend. PSG with a comfortable 3-0 win over Metz to go back into top spot, as Lens disappointingly bottled a 2-goal lead at home, copping 3 goals in 10 minutes to lose to Monaco. Ansu Fati coming off the bench to score the match winner. Lens remain only 2 points behind PSG, so they're still right in this race, but I just cannot envision this front three winning Ligue 1. That's a streets won't forget front three, not a title winning forward line in the big 2026. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see it happen by all means, but sadly I do think PSG are going to do the equivalent of leaning forward in FIFA and lock in till the season's end. Meanwhile, Lyon's epic 13-game winning streak finally comes to an end at the hands of Chelsea Light in a convincing 3-1 defeat. Moving to the Serie A, and this weekend may have just decided the title. Inter put their Bodo Glimt beatdown behind them, making light work of Lecce away. 24 hours later, and second place Milan lost at home to Parma, whilst third place Napoli collapsed away at Atalanta. 10 points in 12 games is still mathematically possible for Milan to overcome, but considering Inter are now unbeaten in their last 13 league games, having only drawn once, my money's definitely on the Nerazzurri. That being said, the top 4 race is definitely heating up. Roma smashed Cremonese to draw level on points with Napoli, whilst Como stunned Juve at the Allianz. Meanwhile, Atalanta are unbeaten in their 9 Serie A outings of 2026, so don't sleep on Palladino's side either. Moving outside of Europe, and the GOATs were back in the headlines this past weekend. CR7 scoring a double to put Al Nassr back into top spot in the Saudi Pro League. He also reaffirmed his commitment to the region, saying, "I belong to Saudi Arabia." As predicted, the boycott is now over, and he now has a very good opportunity to win his first real trophy with the club, his first potential league title since 2020. Heading to North America, and MLS is up and running for 2026, with Heung-min Son's LAFC inflicting a 3-0 defeat over current MLS Cup champions Inter Miami, and in crazy full-time scenes, Messi was seen on video attempting to confront the referee's locker room, with, believe it or not, Luis Suarez restraining the Argentine. That's got to be a first, right? Luis Suarez, the voice of reason. And down under in the greatest league of all, the almighty A-League, Juan Mata delivers an absolute masterclass in the Melbourne derby, curling one over the keeper from 40 yards before belting in another from outside the box, and then providing an inch-perfect assist for the third goal. He's having an incredible redemption season at the Victory after a difficult first year down under at Western Sydney. The A-League also witnessed another remarkable moment this weekend in the Kiwi Classico. Jake Woodreich launched it from his own half, and in what can only be described as a goalkeeping calamity, Josh Oluwayemi headed it into his own net. Peak A-League moment right there. Phoenix went on to lose this game 5-0, final, marking the end of Giancarlo Italiano's, aka Chiefs, tenure as their manager. Fun fact, this guy actually coached me way back in the day. Best coach I ever had, so hopefully he'll land on his feet somewhere else soon. And finally, we gotta talk about racism in football once again, because in the space of a week, this specific issue has gotten out of control. Last Tuesday, Vini Jr. alleged that he was racially targeted by Benfica's Gianluca Prestiani during a Champions League tie. Now, the Argentine has since denied this allegation. He insists now a homophobic slur was said, which is interesting within itself, but the subsequent fallout has been pretty demoralizing. Granted, Vini Jr. has suffered extensive racial abuse in the past. This isn't by any means a new phenomena, but this specific incident in such a high-stakes fixture put the topic front and center in mainstream discourse. It didn't help that one of football's biggest voices, Jose Mourinho, immediately went on the attack against Vini Jr., whilst the club of Prestiani, Benfica, insisted the allegations were entirely false, going as far to claim defamation against the alleged perpetrator without any credible evidence to back this up, and shockingly uploading video footage on X in an attempt to debunk Mbappe's comments as a witness of the incident. Crazy stuff. The trivial and petty nature at which Jose and Benfica as an institution approached such a serious issue was frankly disturbing. Suddenly, racism was being debated online like it was a trivial subject. As expected, the pro-racism crowd felt vindicated by a small but loud minority of apologists who thought the potential racial abuse of Vini Jr. could be in any way justifiable. So it comes as no surprise that in the following Premier League match day, football's biggest domestic league worldwide, 4 separate players were then subject to racist attacks, with Wesley Fofana, Hannibal Mejbri, Tolu Arakadare, and Romain Mundle all victims of severe social media abuse. All 4 clubs of these players immediately released statements condemning the online abuse. It's good to see those clubs operating with moral clarity here. It's the bare minimum, really. Now, combating online racism is infinitely more complicated because of the way social media exists. It's committed behind a screen, often via an anonymous identity. It's far more difficult to combat than in real life instances, but it's no coincidence that this spike in racist abuse comes in the immediate aftermath of a high-profile alleged incident occurring on the pitch, because you give these racist scum online an inch and they'll feel empowered to act on their hatred. Also, without any semblance of accountability on social media platforms that are increasingly allowing legitimate hate speech to thrive, it's only going to get worse, which is why racism in real life has to be tackled more ruthlessly, both on the pitch and in the stadiums. There should be a deep-rooted shame for anyone that engages in this kind of discrimination, and the punishments should be severe enough to the point that even racists themselves are second-guessing their behavior. Look, it's bleak out there. I don't think you can ever remove racism, but football clearly needs to do more, and influential figures within the game have a moral obligation to uphold a clear anti-racist perspective when communicating with the media. Anyways, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.